Hello, you're watching The Mainstream. I'm Khushbu Soni, the founder of The Mainstream. I am very thrilled to have my guest today. We have Mr. Sandeep Bhambure, the Vice President and Managing Director for India and Saarc region at Veeam Software. Sandeep needs no introduction in the industry, but I'm going to take a few minutes to do that. He has 20 plus years of rich experience in the IT industry. Sandeep is renowned for his expertise in sales leadership, business strategy, and building high-performing teams. With deep understanding of technology domains like cloud computing, AI, mobility, and data resiliency, he has successfully navigated the complexities of fast-evolving industry. Sandeep, it's a pleasure to have you today.
Same here. Thank you for having me here in Mainstream.
Fantastic. Sandeep, with 2 decades of experience in the industry, how has your career evolved in the tech space, and how do you see the industry evolving?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and thank you. Also allows me to introduce myself. So I have spent over 2 decades in the industry, and I believe that failures are stepping stone to success. The most difficult moments or scenarios in your life and your career are the ones that kind of really form you. And I think it's not about a moment, but I would say the entire period of 2009 was quite defining, for me, particularly having come up as a salesperson, then getting into the role of what I'm doing today as the Vice President for Sales and Business Operations at Veeam Software. So there was a period when, almost the entire customer base and India Inc. had almost stopped spending anything on IT. And I'm talking about 2009, the post-subprime aftermath that we had seen. But it was also humbling time for me. I spent a lot of time with my customers then. Mm-hmm. That was the best thing we could do because customers also had so much time to spend with vendors, you see. Right. And, towards the end of the year, I was still looking at the business and seeing like hardly a fraction of the targets for any salesperson could have been achieved. And I was really concerned as to how do we end the year with. But suddenly the floodgates opened. So as the end of 2009 approached, as December came in, we observed, and particularly for me, I saw a whole lot of my customers really opening their purses and starting their, spend on IT, investing in IT. And that gave me a very important lesson. We talk about data resilience, but I think individual resilience is as important. Sure. In our life. It is navigating the tough times and how are you able to bounce back on tough situations and bounce forward is what really, defines you. So there have been several tough, scenarios after that because we've seen ups and downs, in our lifetimes. But, the learning for me from 2009 is what really helped me even during the pandemic times. So I think a lot of lessons that you could pick from the tough times or the tough situations that you go through. Right. You can't allow a disaster-like situation to go waste.
That is so true. And COVID has actually taught all of us on how to be resilient, right from business to as individuals as well. We're talking about resiliency. Today, data resiliency is becoming the cornerstone for businesses. What do you see as the biggest challenge, for organizations that they are facing in achieving data resiliency?
Yeah, so, the biggest change that we are seeing around us as far as, something which is really challenging data resiliency is the sophistication of cyber threats. We are seeing AI being used more by the bad actors than, people who are really driving the business, and they are really at the cutting edge of using AI. So the sophistication of cyber threat is really challenging data resiliency. Because data is also growing at, twice as fast as it used to. And we're seeing customers talking about their data assets doubling every year. It used to be 2 years a few years back. And now they're talking about data assets doubling every year. So there's so much more data to be protected, and at the same time, the sophisticated cyber threats. So that is really challenging, customers in a big way. I also observe the disconnect between the security team and data protection teams. Both these organizations have been working in silos, but now there is, I think that that's also changing because the security teams were so much concerned about the threat landscape, whereas the data protection and backup teams was all about safeguarding and backing up the data.
Right.
And I see, that was a big challenge. Now, them coming together is definitely going to change the world, as far as DR is concerned. I also believe that portability of data, because the importance of recovering the data at the right destination or at the right target is becoming extremely important. And if that strategy is not in place, it's definitely going to compromise availability and recovery for the customers.
Right. Absolutely. And so how do you define data resilience, Sandeep, in the context of India's digital transformation? I think every organization are in their own journey of digital transformation and also now data resilience. So what unique challenges have you been seeing in the industry in India specifically in this regard?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. In fact, I see quite a few challenges that customers are facing around data resiliency. So, of course, I spoke about cyber threats being more sophisticated. A lot of AI being used by the bad actors. But even customers are looking at infusing AI, getting the security and the AI together to reinforce their data protection strategy or data resilience strategy. So that's a very important, I would say, trend that we are seeing, particularly with Indian customers. I also see, the CISO organization working more closely, with the IT heads, the traditional CIOs and the CTOs. They are working more closely to make sure that there is a safe copy of backup that is available. The reason for that is very simple. We know that 95% of attacks actually happen on the backup copies. And, hence the backup copy is the best and the surest way of recovering from any disaster or an ransomware attack. Now, if that copy is protected, it simply means that you can get your business back in action. Right? So the CISO organization is now working along with the IT organization, making sure that the backup copy is secure and is always recoverable. So this is another trend that I am observing in context with Indian customers. Thirdly, I would say that even from the standpoint of reinfection of the data, more than 50% customers are actually concerned that when they are trying to recover from a ransomware attack, they could end up reinfecting their data with ransomware again, because it's not about ransomware attack happening, but how many times is it, likely to happen? So the frequency of ransomware attacks, cyber attacks is also increasing. And there has to be not just, preventive action, but also an incident response as well as, post-incident, our organizations having capabilities to run, let's say, forensics, to figure out, what kind of signature a particular attack was actually projecting, to the customers and how to prevent a similar attack from happening again. So these are some of the things that we really, we are observing in the market space.
Right. Absolutely. And I think this is, we've seen the cyber attacks evolving and growing rapidly every day. Right. In the last 5 years, in fact, it has suddenly, the cyber attacks have suddenly just increased and it is expected to touch the trillions. How do you see CISOs reacting to it? How do you see CISOs evolving to these challenges? You interact with CISOs every day. Right? So how do you see they evolving to something like that?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I mean, it's an evolution not just for the customers, but even for, a software or data protection platform company like us. Because I remember my conversations 3 to 4 years back, which used to be largely with the CIOs and the, CTOs.
Right.
But post pandemic and with the large scale adoption of technology, the number of ransomware attacks that organizations are facing today has increased drastically. One of our studies suggests that 75% of our customer base, any customer base for that matter, would have faced a ransomware attack not once but maybe more than once in the previous 12 months. So that's the gravity of the challenge that we have seen. Now, in any IT organization, the CISO function has been largely around, working around security software, whether it is network-centric security, data-centric security, application security, and so on. But when we say 95% of the attacks happen on backup software, there is a broad-based realization with the CISO fraternity that there is a risk to the organization if the backup is not protected.
Correct.
Right. So now the CISO organizations are getting actively involved in decision making when it comes to data protection strategies. Okay, so it's no longer just an IT decision, and these are no longer also, I would say, tech discussions. These are boardroom conversations today. Now, whether we're talking about compliance-driven agendas, whether it's DPDP or even the internal regulators who are pretty much interested in knowing how organizations are resilient and are they securing their data. I think there is a lot of collaboration that is today happening between the CISO and the CTO organization.
Right.
To make sure that the backup landscape, or the backup copies are protected. They are also recoverable.
Right.
We see some of leaders at the forefront of technology. We believe that even the backup vendors need to work very closely.
Correct.
With the security vendors, so that it's not about reinventing the wheel, but how closely can you work with the security technologies to make sure that the backup copy is protected. So that's a big change that we are seeing with the CISO organization.
Sure. Also, Sandeep, as data portability gains momentum, how do you see its role ensuring seamless business continuity?
So this is a very important pillar, of the entire data resiliency strategy that any organization can have. Because, if we just go back a few years, data resiliency would have been largely around maybe data security or backup of data. But now it rests on 5 pillars. Yeah. So what I mean by that is there is, of course, data backup or data protection, which is important. You need the ability to secure that data. To data security becomes, very critical.
Right.
Then, the importance of data recovery is super critical because, you're protecting data for certain outcomes, which is recovery of the data.
Yeah.
And, data intelligence, because anyone who is, a custodian of so much of backed up data, can very well monetize it or even proactively look at capabilities to prevent, or protect organizations from cyber threats.
Right.
But the most important pillar, I would say, or a very critical aspect of this, a 5-pronged data resiliency strategy is data portability. Okay. And you see, when a cyber attack happens or a ransomware attack happens, it's quite possible that the entire data center gets compromised, right? So, where do you recover the data? Even if you have a backup copy which is immutable, uncorrupted, you got to recover it somewhere, isn't it? Now, if you don't have the portability of backup data, okay, particularly when we are talking about the hybrid cloud environment where customers are adopting multi-clouds, you have data backed up, let's say, in cloud A and you want the recovery to happen in cloud B. Is that possible? If portability is enabled, I think it is possible.
Okay.
So portability becomes very important. We've seen scenarios where the data center gets compromised because of a ransomware attack and customer wants to recover from the, clean backup copy to a cloud. That's data portability.
Right.
We also see, requirements coming from customers around preventing vendor lock-ins. Okay, so we know about, of course, multi-cloud being at a very large scale adoption. That's a strategy every organization applies. We are observing trends where data is getting repatriated back from clouds to on-prem. It could be for economic reasons, it could be for strategic reasons, whatever could be the reasons. There is a need to move data from cloud back to on-prem, or even send data from on-prem to cloud. There is another big compelling reason. We are seeing mergers and acquisitions in the IT industry that are pushing customers towards lock-in. And then, customers looking at data portability as a very key strategy to come out of it. You see, because we've seen certain hypervisor companies really pushing customers to, pay out of their nose to continue with their technology. Now, how do you come out of that situation, right? You want to look at an alternate hypervisor. You need data portability to happen from hypervisor A to hypervisor B or to C. Now, all of this can actually be part of any enterprise company's portability strategy. So that's how important portability is today.
Okay.
Now we may call it data freedom as well.
Got it. These are no more buzzwords, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning. I always say AI is everywhere and we are on fire. So how is Veeam Software leveraging and integrating AI and ML in its solutions to redefine the whole data protection strategy for organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a very good question. AI is a strategy for Veeam. As a organization, we definitely see a very large scale adoption of backup as a service. Customers are not just looking at consuming backup on-prem, but they're looking at backup as a service, data resiliency as a service. And if that is not infused with AI, it doesn't meet the purpose, or it doesn't help the customers really fend off, these attacks coming from the bad actors. Because, like I said, they are using very sophisticated, tools to, take control of your data. So we are using AI and ML as part of not just in a reactive approach, but also in a proactive way. Okay, so we are able to use AI algorithms to preempt potential malware in the backup, which is very important because that can help customers take some preventive steps, or even, do away with, bad backup copies of, their data. We are using AI to detect, malware online real time. We have more than 450,000 customers worldwide. And there's a wealth of information that we have. Like I said, when we know that 75% of companies are facing attacks. You see, we are right in the middle, helping our customers protect themselves against these attacks. So all of that information is available to us to help our customers even more. In terms of making sure that we do not just, reactive, but also take proactive steps to leverage AI to help our customers. So that's something that, we are leveraging to the core.
Got it. Sandeep, there is a lot of, support from the government, and, it's about Digital Bharat, right? So there is a lot of government support in making Bharat to Digital Bharat. There is, a lot of, strategies on those. There's a lot of implementations that is happening from the government side for it. And Digital Bharat is evolving. The world is looking at us, right? And getting inspired of how, India is growing from a digitalization perspective, right? So what future challenges do you foresee? And how Veeam Software is helping a vision of Digital Bharat?
Absolutely. So, we are the world's number one company in the space of data resiliency, and not just across the world, but also in India. So, I believe that it's our responsibility to be at the forefront of making sure that we not just help our customers protect their information, but also individuals and small businesses. Because as a nation, well, we could have the vision of Viksit Bharat, and we are committed to, we have pledged to support, the charter of Viksit Bharat. Okay. We are working very closely with independent agencies, government bodies, educational institutions to make sure that the importance of data resiliency is well accepted, learned. People have the, understand the importance of why data, every piece of information critical for business needs to be protected. Okay, so this has been a very crucial part, of our contribution to the nation, and I happen to, listen to PM's interactions in US, so this is a Viksit Bharat. Basically, we make Bharat great again. Yeah. That's what is the vision that the PM has. It is a vision, collective vision for all of us. And I think that, every organizations need to have a data-centric or a strategy that revolves around protecting information. I think data sovereignty is again a very key aspect that the government has been really encouraging organizations to look at, because we don't want this critical piece of information to go outside of the country. Now, where does Veeam come in? Yeah. While we have a commitment, or we have pledged ourselves to to the cause of Viksit Bharat, I think, we are doing the job of not just educating, but also ensuring that some of the best practices are adopted, irrespective of the technology. Okay, so we are championing the cause of certain best practices like 32110. These are like, a pre-incident. Every organization needs to have a 32110 strategy as far as data resilience is concerned. Okay. We are at the cutting edge of technology when it comes to helping organizations put together, how to respond to a cyber attack during the incident. So there is a pre-incident, best practices adoption and implementation. There is a during an incident response, because again, an incident response, while it may sound like a tech, need, but actually it's again a boardroom requirement. It's a business requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, how does an organization deal with a cyber attack? And if those systems and processes are not in place, okay, it's going to be even a worse disaster than the cyber attack itself.
True.
Okay, so during an incident, how do you respond is a big task that we are really, educating our customers with. And finally, it comes to, post-response.
Right.
Right. So you need to have, again, the technology to help customers do forensics on, what really happened, and tools to decrypt all this information. Because someone is taking control of your data. If you have the tools, you can actually decrypt the data and return it back to the customer. So all of these capabilities are part of, Veeam's data platform that we are really helping our customers with. So.
Right. That is really great, because, whenever I interact with CISOs, and we hear this, right? We keep hearing that either you've been attacked and you're aware, or you've been attacked and you're not aware. So, today I think every organization has faced cyber attack, and incident response, managing, the post incident is the key. So that is really great that you're working on educating the community on how to really look at post cyber attack management, right? Sandeep, you've been known for building high performance teams in your previous organizations and even at Veeam. What advice would you like to give to aspiring leaders to foster collaboration and build high performance teams?
This can be a very short answer, by the way.
Okay.
I think it's very important for leaders to be bold in terms of decision making And if you got to fail, fail fast.
Yeah.
The world around you is so dynamic, it's changing so fast that you got to be equally fast to adapt to the change.
Right.
And, you go back to the Darwin's theory, it's not the strongest or the fastest to survive, but it is the ones that adapt to the change actually survive. So for the leaders, it is important to cultivate or harness, the strength of diversity, the strength of, really allowing people to be brave in terms of decision making and innovation. And even if they fail, you should be able to absorb all of that in your stride and move on.
Right.
I think that's a very important
Fantastic.
learning for me.
Fantastic. Okay, I think this has been great. It's a great conversation. But before we end, I have a little surprise. I've planned some rapid fire questions. And it is rapid, right? So I mean, we'll try and do it as quick as possible. Whatever comes first in your mind is what we will want to know.
Is it going to be one word or can it be like that? That's up to you. You'll give me that liberty.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
yes.
good.
Okay. AI or human expertise?
Human expertise.
All right. What's a recent tech gadget or tool that you can't live without?
My cell phone.
Okay.
It's not recent, but it's like, you keep getting so many tools on your cell phone. New apps, they become the tools for you. Your phone becomes a new tool every time with a new app.
Awesome. An advice for startups?
Fail fast.
Fail fast. When you're not shaping the future of data protection, what's your go-to way to unwind and disconnect from the digital world?
Spend time with my kid.
Lovely. In one sentence, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about leadership and innovation?
Be brave.
Awesome. AI and data protection are your professional worlds. What you think AI could never do better than humans?
Be humans.
Wow, that's nice. Okay. How do you unwind? Apart from, of course, spending time with kids, but what else?
Well, there are many ways in which I unwind. I love reading. I love trekking. I like to, try my hand at the game of poker as well.
Oh, lovely.
Does it go with the risk and failing and being brave?
It does. Proudest moment?
Proudest moment. Well, there are many, but when I went with my entire team to collect the Veeam trophy for second time in a row, that's the proudest moment for me.
And we saw the pictures on LinkedIn.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Cute.
Alternative career?
Farmer.
Wow. Okay. Best thing about leading Veeam India?
Culture. The opportunity to build an organization with its culture in this part of the world. That's been the most wonderful opportunity for me.
Lovely. Awesome. Veeam in one word?
Great.
Awesome. One Indian client success story that you would like to share with us?
There are many actually. We have like thousands of clients in the country across a spectrum of industries, but I can talk to you about Mahindra and Mahindra. This is a large conglomerate. We know, the kind of businesses they are in, more than 100 businesses.
Yeah.
And my M&M was, serious about a very, broad-based data protection strategy. They were facing severe challenges when it came to, backup of their, not just, traditional data assets, but on the virtual machines as well as cloud data assets. And their incumbent, tech was not able to deliver, on the SLAs. It was taking too long for M&M to really recover their data.
Okay.
That's when Veeam actually stepped in. The previous, company was also recommending to use tons of expensive hardware to deliver on the SLAs. So one is the SLAs and second, the cost of meeting the SLAs. And that's when Mahindra and Mahindra engaged Veeam. And, from there on to now, there are several companies within the M&M group that have adopted Veeam as their core data resilience platform. We are protecting their workloads on-prem, in virtual environment, and even in cloud and containers.
Okay.
And delivering the SLA for them, which is like, their recovery time have improved by over 50%. and their cost of recovering that data has gone down by 50%. So it's a huge leverage for a group like M&M. And likewise, I mean, there are several such customers like Granules and Hero Motocorp and Parul University who have actually leveraged Veeam to, make sure that their IT assets, data assets are secured, protected, and they're able to do it with a lot of flexibility and at a much lower cost.
Your prediction for 2030?
Wow, that's too long. I'll be older by 7.
That is a nice answer. All right, that is an end of our rapid fire. Thank you so much, Sandeep, once again for joining us at the Mainstream and sharing all your valuable insights. I'm sure, the industry is looking forward to hear from you on how Veeam is looking at 2025 and how they're actually solving challenges in the market, right? So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you, Khushbu.
Fantastic.